Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And I couldn't have said it better myself than what SharkBot is saying. Let's have an epic battle worthy of the Caprulu sector. With these two, I think we're probably going to get that, as it is Caninana, one of the best late-game Zerg bots, if not the best, going to be taking on SharkBot, a very good late-game Protoss that is a little bit of a wild card. And so, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure to go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a comment down below saying more bots, more boats, more bagels, whatever it may be. And then subscribe if you haven't already. But your comments are appreciated, and I read most of them, as yeah, it helps with the YouTube bot, which is another bot we gotta think about. So, yeah. And then just big thanks to everyone that does support the channel via the YouTube membership program. I'm going to be going back to school in September here, so that is all your support is appreciated. And yeah, just let's see where this one's going to go. We do have a probe scout from SharkBot. Nothing nefarious, though. We've seen SharkBot go for this kind of pylon cannon rush in the past, but in this game it's just not going for that. And is just going for a simple scout, so very respectful. Well done, SharkBot. Respectful right up until it starts BMing a little bit. We'll see if that happens or not. And then, yeah, I'm actually just going to go ahead and pull up these bots' descriptions, as we've got Caninana, programmed by Ratosh. Zerg bot and CPP Linux is what the website says, but the description says it's programmed in Rust. Created February 14th, the Valentine's Day, 2022, and then last updated February 25th, or pardon me, the 20th of February, 2025. Taking on Caninana, SharkBot has a nice long bio, and that is, it's programmed by SharkNice and .NET Core, and that it collects cheese from the mountains to bring to these StarCraft 2 games, and then it's just a hybrid scripted / machine learning bot. And yeah, everything is looking pretty normal. SharkBot was last updated May 5th, 2025, so updated a little bit more recently, which does make me wonder if this is something that's been adjusted, that it didn't go for its usual sort of canon shenanigans. And yeah, I'm excited to see how the updates keep coming from these bots. Well, it's always fun to watch the games and see if the bot authors have changed anything in particular, as sometimes the changes are so minimal. Like, you can change just teeny tiny behavior, that kind of thing, that you can't really notice it, but the different build is definitely noticeable. SharkBot also has 2 batteries going up at the front, so a nice sturdy wall, then going into a Phoenix, so just playing Stargate. And yes, let's see. Caninana, very slow to macro up. That really is one of its key uniquenesses. One of the things that makes it unique, as it really plays it safe. Like, it's got out the Roach Warren already on 2 bases. It's got out some Lings, doesn't drone up too crazily or anything like that. And that is one of the approaches you can take to programming your bot. Looks like a Ling makes it into SharkBot's base. This is something that bot authors have to deal with, like, how do you program your units? Defensive, offensive, that kind of thing. Personally, I think the best way probably to go about it, not that I've actually programmed this into my bot yet, but it's probably just to have states for units, like attacking, defending, then have a timeout on that to avoid sort of bugginess and glitchiness, in my opinion. So that's probably something that, if I do continue to work on my bot, I'll eventually potentially implement. As, like, yeah, you've got to have a unit decide whether it's going to be attacking or just defending. And SharkBot's units are doing a good job defending right now, killing off that adept. Looks like there is another random adept out on the map. It does shade away. That's the thing about these bots. They will just keep on using their units and moving them. Unfortunately for that adept, that doesn't really work out. SharkBot, though, has an Oracle out, dropping revelations on opponent units. Then we've got SharkBot building up enough money for a third base, so we'll see if that's coming soon. But man, oh man, look at this build from the Protoss bot. It's actually going very, very heavily into these adepts. No resonating glaives or anything like that. Just mass adepts for safety. Another Ling does make it into SharkBot's base. SharkBot really is going to be regretting not having that as a solid wall. Maybe a bit of a mistake as far as the map's concerned. I guess there's really no reason you couldn't put that second battery a little to the right, something like that. But yeah, third base on the way for SharkBot, whereas Caninana is getting up a fourth. We've got Phoenix on the way for SharkBot, but those aren't going to help with the Lings, really. So it's going to be on the Adepts to do the heavy lifting there, as both these bots are cruising up in the APM. SharkBot, a notorious offender when it comes to having ridiculously high APM, to the extent that my game lags sometimes because of it. You can't really fast forward or skip through a SharkBot replay because it does have such high APM. Just issuing so many commands to the units all the time. And let's see, Phoenix do lift up the odd Zergling. They've only got 40 more to go across those 3 Phoenix, so definitely lots of work for SharkBot to put in. Caninana, meanwhile, getting up Spine Crawlers to defend from harassment, +1 attack on the way. Phoenix flying around can be controlled independently, so in theory, they are a unit that bots can definitely control well, but programming that is quite a task. I do like the mass adepts from SharkBot. It definitely is something I don't think we've seen from this bot before. Just 14 adepts playing it safe. It's now getting up resonating glaives, not some crazy timing or anything like that. Just having the adepts, maybe the bot authors experimenting with the shades to try and mess with the opponent's pathing, that kind of thing, or just as a good way to try and keep units alive. Phoenix do lift up a few more Lings, but unfortunately, there's actually nothing to kill them, so these Lings are just getting held in the air for a little bit. There we go, more Phoenix coming on in, so the odd Ling getting killed off here and there. Adepts moving forward, then potentially shading back, but this time they actually commit in, but Caninana says, yeah, I'll take that fight any day of the week, picks off a few Adepts, and then gets on out of there. As SharkBot does need to be careful with these Adepts. Canceling those shades is definitely an interesting move, as Caninana is coming forward, then decides to back on out. The air units definitely are a threat to Caninana, so we'll see. It should eventually go into some sort of anti-air. Looks like, meanwhile, the Protoss bot does have its 4th base getting established, so getting that up is quite important. We've got a 3rd Stargate going up for SharkBot, so lots and lots of Phoenix being produced here. Revelations getting dropped on these roaches. That's nice, prevents them just from burrowing and escaping from any danger. As the Phoenix count grows, so does their efficiency, because when you've got like 3 or 4 Phoenix, it's very easy to burn through all their energy. But when you've got, say, 8, like SharkBot does, there's pretty much always going to be a lift-off cooldown. Maybe not quite, as the bot, of course, does a very good job of spending its energy, unlike a human who will let them sit for a little bit longer. So Phoenix getting some nice efficiency, picking off more and more units, Revelations being constantly dropped, and yeah, SharkBot is just rushing into carriers. It's like me when I play the ladder. And yes, let's see here, Oracle's still coming forward, Revelations being dropped. Templar Archives getting thrown up for SharkBot 2. Psystorm is a very, very powerful spell. Caninana, though, keeping a cool head. Again, not going up to any sort of crazy economy. Like, it's been pretty much completely safe this whole game, yet it's only on 67 workers, where SharkBot is on 81. As we do see SharkBot having to fall back as roaches do move forward, but there is carriers in the skies helping out. SharkBot says, Newton discovered gravity. I'm here to remind you why it hurts, which is interesting. as SharkBot does have that 4th base up and still mining. However, quite a few probes were lost in that engagement. I was just saying, SharkBot's got 80. All of a sudden, now it's down to 68 as Caninana does take the worker lead. So, despite losing some units, the trade wasn't bad at all for the Zerg bot. It killed off 18 Adepts. The Adepts really don't stand up that well to mass Zerg. There's a reason why they're used in timing attacks to kill workers and not maxed out armies for Protoss generally. Got a burrowed Ling, potentially causing some problems and blocking this 5th base. Phoenix flying around, still picking off units. Overseers can definitely be nice finds for SharkBot. As, I mean, Caninana likes to send those in constantly, but Phoenix are quite quick, so they can actually hunt them down and kill them. The anion pulse crystals really helps out with finding them. SharkBot's also getting +3 attack on the way, but here comes in Caninana with just roaches and lings again. But it is forced back. The carrier count, well, it's only 2 presently, but soon it's going to grow as there's a Tempest on the way too. So SharkBot's army does become scarier and scarier. So far, though, no 5th base going up for the Protoss, whereas Caninana is enjoying a nice 6 bases. Phoenix are flying around as SharkBot is still being a nuisance with those, as the Phoenix are flying on back home. Carriers are poking out on the map. Caninana is starting to get out some anti-air in the form of Hydralisk, though. SharkBot, though, definitely doesn't have that big of a ground army, though, so roaches and lings are moving forward, picking off a good number of these Adepts. Phoenix are still flying around, potentially going to pick up some more of these units. We shall see, though. And then, yeah. Creep for Caninana is definitely looking problematic, though, as the Zerg bot, the Protoss bot, is really being boxed on in, with every base except this 5th base being blocked by creep. So SharkBot will need to clear some of that if it wants to stay alive and hold on in the late game. A Mothership's on the way now, Immortal's on the way, Nexus going on up. We've got multiple cannons being produced as well for SharkBot. So adding in that static defense definitely can be strong. The main concern is that eventually Caninana is going to get up to things like Infestors, which are very, very scary. SharkBot is holding the line, though, against these roaches, no problem. Does toss out a few hallucinated Archons, which is very cool. That's another thing that bots can do that humans can't easily do. When you're playing with almost a maxed out army, it's very difficult to throw down things like hallucinations and use all your energy. But bots can do that no problem. SharkBot, though, is still just building on up. We've got Caninana saying Psystorm persistent, Guardian Shield persistent. So tracking the spells that are used by the opponent there. Phoenix are still flying around, picking off units. There's been 14 killed Overseers. So those Phoenix are kind of paying for themselves. We see a Psystorm going down. Phoenix are... one of them actually did go down there. Overseers are being chased away. But yeah, these Phoenix are really doing work in keeping these Overseers away. It's definitely eating through some of Caninana's money, but Caninana has a lot of money, Mr. Krabs level of money, as it's pulling in almost 4,000 minerals a minute, or it was for at least a moment there. Still, at a very healthy mining rate with all these bases. SharkBot has a good economy itself, but of course, it will start to mine out quicker, as it does only have that 5th base up. So SharkBot is moving on out, killing off some of these creep tumors, doing a great job of that. Programming your bot to deal with things like creep or burrowed Zerglings is not easy to do. There's a reason why it's been such a staple in the bot meta to block opponents' expansions. Stalkers and Void Rays skirmishing against Hydras. I mean, it's a questionable fight for SharkBot as more reinforcements do show up for Caninana. And oh my gosh, pardon me, as SharkBot... okay, I actually have to rewind for this one. I don't often rewind, guys, but how did I miss the Mothership of SharkBot? It, like, snuck around the corner of the map into Caninana's base and then goes for a big recall, says nothing personal, kid, and teleports in a massive Protoss army into Caninana's base. Holy cow. So all of a sudden, Caninana is pulling back in a frantic panic. Feedback's getting dropped as now SharkBot force fields the ramp of Caninana. This bot author is going for style points. More force fields being dropped as well. There's lots of Protoss in the Zerg's main base, but the Zerg does want up this ramp. The icing on the cake would be the Disruptor firing a Nova down the ramp. Where is that Disruptor? I think it's like hidden. Yeah, under the Mothership. We'll see if that happens or not, as the Zerg is very, very grouped up. Nova does go down, but it's a little bit preemptive. Caninana is losing some of its tech structures here, having its economy really be disrupted. What a play. And SharkBot has got so many sentries that it's still been able to maintain this force field. I think that force field's finally going to run out. What a play by SharkBot. Perhaps one of the coolest bot plays we've ever seen. This Disruptor does have energy, throws out a Nova, as the Protoss bot is kind of being pushed into a corner here. That's the thing. The Zerg had enough of an army to deal with this. So SharkBot just pads the air units out of there, says, sorry, immortals, and leaves them. The Disruptor getting hunted down and killed, too. I'm not sure how effective that was, but man, that was cool from SharkBot. And Caninana is now down on supply, having... I don't think it actually lost really that many important buildings. A couple of Evos, maybe. Time Warp getting thrown down. The Mothership of SharkBot does disappear as it gets killed off there. Now SharkBot is moving out with the rest of its army, but a carrier gets abducted, so it's not going to be able to save that, as we have another carrier falling. So SharkBot is getting pushed back, as the Zerg army of Caninana is still very formidable. While this is going on, though, SharkBot was able to secure up that 6th base. It's got Immortals, Void Rays, the Phoenix. However, its army is a little bit disjointed, so Caninana is getting some nice pickoffs. Phoenix do want to grab that Viper, but they're unable to so far. SharkBot falls back to its massive battery cannon line that it's got established. That's where all of SharkBot's money is going, for sure. And we'll see if SharkBot's going to go for that move again, potentially. Or if that was just a one-off. We'll keep eyes on whether it rebuilds the Mothership or not. Man, oh man, that was such a sick play. Motherships being able to recall aggressively is one of the coolest things in StarCraft 2. As, let's see, we've got recalls getting dropped on the Zerg army as SharkBot is still just hunkering down on these 6 bases. It's got a decent economy still, now adding in Colossus, carriers, more oracles. Revelations are being dropped all over the place. And yeah, we'll see what SharkBot's planning next, as Caninana has done a really good job of just holding on, building up into that scary late game Zerg, getting out lots of Hydras, which already have +3 attack. Carapace is being researched as well. Phoenix are flying towards the right. They will find and kill off that Overseer, so nicely done. Looks like a couple of Adepts do want to clean this location up, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. We do have Caninana moving forward. However, there's so many batteries and a battery overcharge. That is a great defensive position for SharkBot. Now we've got SharkBot saying, witness the sky become your graveyard, which I assume is a reference to how units float up here on Abyssal Reef under the sea. SharkBot adds in more carriers. It does have presently 4 Stargates, adding on a 5th. We'll see if it actually makes use of those or not, as it is just holding the line, building up a bit of a bank. Definitely bottlenecked by gas, as Protoss generally is. Caninana has yet to make any infestors, interestingly enough, which is something that it's really known for, but maybe it doesn't want to make those against SharkBot's mass feedback, that kind of thing, that as it utilizes its High Templar. SharkBot is up to 6 carriers, lots of oracles, more Void Rays on the way. The base in the upper right has yet to be cleared on out, as these creep tumors do cause problems. They're identified by this observer, but the Adept is slacking hard. SharkBot's still just spamming away. Caninana building up its own APM. As these bots get maxed out, they've got lots of units to control independently. And then, let's see, carriers still flying around. A SharkBot really is just hunkered down, but not getting up the 6th base, unfortunately, as there's just creep all over the place. So, up until now, SharkBot's creep cleaning has been quite effective, but there we go. 1 Stalker rolls on up. It's going to have its work cut out for it, though, killing off these tumors. The Zerg's still poking and prodding SharkBot. units that do move too far forward are being picked off, and I don't think SharkBot's losing that many, as it does just have these nice batteries and cannons it's sitting on. Looks like a Void Ray coming to help and clean out the creep. So, okay, SharkBot does eventually get it together and starts cleaning this up, doing actually a phenomenal job getting rid of all the tumors close to the base, except this one, but that creep still should recede. Thankfully, creep does recede pretty quick in StarCraft 2 these days. Veterans or old players will recall that it took like a solid like two minutes or something, maybe even almost 3 minutes back in the day for a base to fully recede, because creep used to recede incredibly slowly, and it was definitely a problem. So it's in a pretty good spot these days, as it still takes quite a while, but it isn't instant or anything like that. This tumor could still cause problems. We'll have to keep eyes on that. SharkBot does seem to want to move out against Caninana. Colossus does get too far forward, and some Hydras pounce on it. However, it does pull back, so good retreat behavior there. And the death ball for the Protoss is just so real at this point, and I'm not sure that Hydras will be able to handle this on their own. There's only one Corruptor out for Caninana. It does have Vipers out, and I mean, Vipers are very formidable, as they can abduct units into these Hydras, which actually have very high damage. So the main reason why Hydras don't work versus mass Protoss air is generally because of AoE, like Psystorm, maybe Colossus in this case. This base in the upper right is getting established, though, as SharkBot throws up lots of pylons, and some cannons are being built, so it very well may hit this 7th base. We shall see. As, let's see, a Neural Parasite catches that Immortal. Caninana is being pushed back. The carriers are kind of by themselves at this point, though, so they do need to be careful. And yeah, Assimilation on that Immortal does signal that Infestors are now out for Caninana. A random carrier gets abducted, but it just targets down the Viper, as there's actually not that much anti-air to deal with it. So the Zerg is going to lose a hatchery. We've now got SharkBot poking in the bottom left, wanting to secure up this location, and it's actually Caninana's, so we'll see if it kills that off or not. An abduct on a carrier is quite nice. That is a lot of Hydra DPS. Vipers are building up more energy. SharkBot has its carrier interceptors just attacking everything, although it may be losing too many of these interceptors, as we see like 3 of these carriers have basically no interceptors left. A Fungal catches quite a few of them, and let's see here, as SharkBot is still poking all over the map. Caninana losing more mining. Its economy is down to 2,000 minerals a minute, which is a significant drop, so it definitely needs to get that back online before it starts losing critical mass in its army. Stalker's still blinking around all over the place, hitting this base in the bottom left. However, SharkBot is being pushed back here, and yes, what a play this is, as Caninana does manage to barely hold on, as it lost 2 bases. Lots of its economy was hurt there, but it manages to stay maxed out and has forced SharkBot all the way home. SharkBot is spinning its carriers, very funny, but now we see a Psystorm catching a lot of these Hydras, and the defender's advantage in these bot games is definitely real. Programming your bot to be aggressive and smart to realize those opportunities is not an easy thing to do. Caninana holds on to this base in the bottom left. That's actually quite important. That's the last base that is rightfully SharkBot's by the numbers, but if Caninana can mine from that a significant amount, that could cause real problems for the Protoss if the Zerg mines that base long term. I'm not sure too many resources have been taken from it, though. The Mothership is on the warpath once again as it's flying around. I actually caught it this time as it's moving down there. There's just so much that goes on in these bot games. It really is ridiculous. Looks like Caninana is poking the front, but it's getting forced back once more. We've got a Void Ray hitting this base. That's potentially going to be able to clean this up, although there is a Hydra harassing. The Mothership moving up towards the upper left. We'll see what SharkBot recalls in there. I'm guessing this chunk of carriers, High Templar, and sentries would probably be the move. The Mothership isn't actually being chased down either. Fortunately, there's not many Corruptors. This Void Ray is doing work, forcing that Queen away. This base could be cleaned up. That would definitely be a big deal. The Protoss is almost on Caninana's side of the map, so how needed a recall is, I'm not sure. Caninana is also kind of blocking its own expansion attempt. SharkBot that says lol, 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 going for the recall, the cloak. As the Mothership comes on in, there's the force field, and these carriers have got lots of damage this time, so Caninana could very well lose all its tech in this game. There's a bit of a counter push going on as Stalkers are fighting off the Hydras, but that means the Hydras are not responding to this. The Mothership is kind of flying quite far forward, drops the time warp on the Changelings, being like, yeah, that's the move, slow those down. But holy cow, Caninana is now losing like all its tech, losing its hive. The spawning pool goes down. The infestation pit will be next. It is a total reset on the Zerg tech. Fortunately, Caninana did start a new lair, a roach warren, and a spawning pool already. It fired up 5 infestors before that went down. But what a play by the Protoss bot. Really, really phenomenal. The base in the bottom left is still being held by Caninana, which is quite nice. The cannons of SharkBot are holding the line, but carriers are moving forward, now hitting this base where the tech is actually being rebuilt, as these bases really are mined out, so it is just the tech that is the main value here. Revelations still getting tossed on down is quite nice for SharkBot. Just keeping eyes on these Zerg units. Vision is such a huge resource in StarCraft 2. The base in the bottom left is still being held by Caninana, just barely. We'll see if it keeps that alive. That's very important. But for now, the Zerg bot can really just make roaches at this point. Although that roach warren is now gone, it's got to rebuild the spawning pool. So it's actually got basically no tech left, as SharkBot is just purifying the Zerg base. Random feedback catches a queen. As SharkBot's spellcaster usage is next level, we've got a prism flying on into the danger zone, but Caninana is going to lose another hatchery. Sentry gets dropped, pops a guardian shield. SharkBot is looking good here, as it does eventually clean up that bottom base. That's going to be another base location for it. Caninana isn't dead, as it's still got a relatively high army supply. Just to beat these carriers, the Immortals, the High Templar, is going to be very, very difficult. Look at this. The Revelations being dropped non-stop by SharkBot is so, so huge. As it's, yeah, just looking really cool in the late game, going for cool late game plays. Random sentries and archons are hanging out in the main base, but that's kind of just gone at this point. Caninana's supply is falling, as it doesn't want to make any lings. Maybe it'll make some more units once that roach warren's done, but those aren't going to help with carriers. The attempt at a new lair does get found and is being shut down and killed. Another one immediately starts a little to the right, but that could very well be vulnerable too. SharkBot's building up a huge bank in this situation. The base in the bottom left is being secured up. Just instant pylons getting thrown up at that location. Cannons and batteries will be next, which is so, so critical for securing this spot up. This base is now getting some cannon attention, as SharkBot does have quite a big mineral bank, as building all these Protoss tech units uses more gas than anything, so SharkBot kind of solves that by spending minerals on cannons and whatnot. And I mean, Caninana does still have a bank of its own. It's getting up more tech. The lair has been shut down time and time again, so it is just locked on this roach tech for now. We'll see if it can build a spire or an infestation pit once this lair is done. That would be quite important. But here comes in the Protoss once more. It's going to be cleaning out this base, and Caninana is afraid to take this engagement, rightfully so, as SharkBot's army is just ridiculous. And so, yeah, I'm not sure what Caninana needs to do. Go for a counterattack, something like that. Shutting down this base would be good, but honestly, SharkBot is just dominating here. I'm not sure what Caninana should do, as we do have the Protoss now pushing towards the right side. SharkBot is attempting to secure up this location. That's a bit ambitious, but at the same time, it is cleaning out this Zerg base. Psystorm getting dropped on the larva and the Zerg cocoons, as that base gets cleaned on out. Now Caninana is down to one base. The death ball of SharkBot is being amazingly aggressive in this match. Like, it's just been slow and methodical, and Caninana hasn't been able to do anything about it. Time Warp gets tossed on down. The Zerg army is moving forward. There's Immortals on the ground, though, to deal with the roaches. Most of the High Templar do seem to be gone, I believe. Either that or they're chilling in a prism somewhere, as there is a few out still. But even so, what a game, as I do think SharkBot has taken this one. It's happily mining in the bottom left. The base is really secured. Caninana would need a miracle or a crash to win this game, I think. as the Zerg bot has got mainly roaches now, as that's all it's been able to build. Caninana does find a Colossus, which is nice. It is building an infestation pit. Who knows, maybe 10 infestors could turn this around if SharkBot splits up its army poorly. But Caninana, it's going to have the infestation pit be found relatively soon. It should probably fire up a bunch of infestors as soon as this is done. Except now it's bottlenecked by a larva, I believe, which is definitely not good. Lings are being produced. SharkBot is massively bottlenecked by gas in this game, but look at this. It's now taking Caninana's base in the upper right. Carriers still flying around. A total domination, it seems. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've enjoyed this game and this cast, click that like button if you haven't already. Leave a like for cool SharkBot assassination mothership teleport plays. As, yeah, SharkBot basically just teleports right behind you and causes problems. I heard an infestor causing some trouble there, catches a Void Ray, which is nice. There is more infestors for Caninana. If Caninana was to win this game, I'd say it would be off the back of its great infestor control. However, I'm thinking it might be a little bit too far gone at this point. SharkBot's one weakness is its major gas shortage, as the Protoss bot does lack that, but it's still just got carriers, a Mothership, High Templar, that kind of thing. Caninana is squeezing out a Spire, a Hydra Den, despite only being on one base that's barely binding at this point. It's rebuilding a hatch at a base with only 240 minerals, rebuilding a hatch at a base that, well, I guess it has gas, so technically it's got resources, so not a total waste. As Caninana is just hunkered down on this one base. Now, SharkBot is building lots of probes at this point, which does make me wonder if it's losing some, sort of rallying across the map perhaps. Roaches are getting some efficiency out on the map. And SharkBot, yeah, is starting to run out of gas, it would seem. It's got this base mining gas, but I think most of the rest are mined out. Okay, this one's got a bit left, and this one surely will have some gas that it can still mine. Psy storms are blanketing the Zerg army there. Oh, man, those are some good storms, weakening up that Zerg army. Of course, the roaches can burrow to regain their HP. SharkBot's building 9 probes at a time. I'm really not sure what that's for or where they're going. They must just be feeding to their death somewhere across the map. Yeah, there's some of them running to their death because SharkBot is attempting to expand here, which is definitely a little bit ambitious. Psy storms are catching the Zerg army. Caninana is so broke, though. Only 24 drones remaining, as units are just getting picked off, and they shall not be replaced at this point. As SharkBot is now attempting to take this Nexus as well. It really does like to take its opponent's bases, that's for sure. As it's still just flying around, killing off Caninana's units. Very slow and methodical. Looks like we do have a Neural Parasite. I'm not sure what that caught. A Tempest in the mix of that army. There isn't actually anything to reveal that Infestor presently, so an Oracle does need to get over there. But Caninana is now backed into a corner. This could be the final stand of the Zerg, as carriers are purifying the Zerg. I mean, there's so many spellcasters for Caninana. We have seen it do some very good spell usage in the past, but even by Caninana's standards, I think this is a little bit too much. It's also just got no economy, basically. No mining left at all in this game, really. As SharkBot still happily mining from these bases. Let's take a look at resources lost. SharkBot has also killed off more than Caninana, so it's not like Caninana has been more efficient. Although that metric is tough to gauge when your opponent has lost. Gosh, how many hatcheries? Well, 30 spores, 18 spines, 7 hatches, a lair, and a hive. That kind of thing. That really does mess with the resources lost. So Caninana hasn't been horribly inefficient. But yeah, just a slow death here for the Zerg, as programming a bot to be lethal is difficult, as these two big armies are still respecting each other a little bit. SharkBot still attempting to expand on its opponent's side of the map is really ambitious, causing it to lose quite a few probes, but now in goes the Protoss. Feedback catches a Viper, it gets deleted, and Nexus will finish and promptly die, which is unfortunate, but SharkBot may actually secure up some of these bases. We shall see. As, oh my gosh, it actually kept this Nexus alive. 9 HP, crazy. SharkBot needs to get a battery up to heal that thing right away, as Caninana is just holding a line, staying in the corner, but losing hatcheries, losing units. We'll see if it can kill off this hatch, or this Nexus, pardon me, as it is rebuilding shields, which is very cool to see. The Protoss force killing off these roaches. Caninana is now falling to 100 supply. It's definitely a very, very slow death in this scenario. Yeah, really, really great play from SharkBot. Seems that just macroing up is a valid route for it. Double Neural Parasite on 2 Immortals is cool to see. Those will actually get potentially picked off by Caninana. So Caninana's spellcasters are lethal as always. It just doesn't really matter when SharkBot is taking your bases. I'd love to see some cannons get built here by SharkBot. Random High Templar and Prism poking this base. The High Templar does indeed want the smoke. It better avoid that spine though, as Caninana's just sitting in a corner still. Still at 102 supply, rebuilding a drone, kills off an observer. SharkBot is kiting back. Caninana really is being a cockroach in this game, but now SharkBot finds this, well, it's known the space has been here, but it's like, oh yeah, I can kill this now. Kills off the hive. The infestation pit will die once again. It may cost SharkBot this Nexus, which did actually die and was rebuilt. This base over here is being worked on. There's a battery overcharged, healing up these probes. For those of you wondering, there is a patch probably coming for these bot games, so battery overcharge will eventually disappear. It's just there's some technical reasons, like replays or bot games desyncing, which is why the new patch hasn't been adapted, and of course Blizzard is dead, so they've stopped sort of responding and supporting the community, which is unfortunate. But some very clever bot authors are kind of making like making a mod basically to update the maps so they play on the latest patch. Disruptors are on the way for SharkBot. As the space is being harassed a little bit, there's one drone left for Caninana. You never know with these bot replays, like whether the game's going to be over in actually just 5 minutes and then it's going to be 40 minutes of derping. In this one, it definitely hasn't been that long, but it has been Caninana definitely being dead and SharkBot just taking its time to clean everything up. Looks like SharkBot wants to secure this location with all, I don't know, 400 minerals, barely enough to pay for the Nexus. SharkBot's actually broke itself now, as it's just spending its money as quick as it can get it, having lost 219 probes, which is no small amount. Caninana just holed up in this corner here. SharkBot's moving forward. It's got the Prism, got some Stalkers, more Immortals on the way. SharkBot has lost, trying to see the Immortals in that massive units lost tab, 12. Revelations still hitting this Zerg. The Zerg is just parked in a corner now, one roach being a nuisance, as Caninana has lost this base. SharkBot definitely still wants this location. It's like, probe's just sitting there waiting for an observer to drift on over. And this Nexus could be in a little bit of trouble. More probes are being killed. SharkBot is starting to mine out all of its bases, so it's really been pushing it as far as letting Caninana live, but Caninana is literally not mining at all. It's got no army. Well, basically no army left. Let's see. 8 Infestors, 2 Vipers, 6 Roaches, 2 Queens, 6 Hydras. Yeah, SharkBot losing these probes is unfortunate, but I think it does just need to man up and go kill Caninana at this point. SharkBot is definitely taking its sweet time with this one. There's the Armada moving forward. Every unit that Caninana loses will not be replaced. So it is just a matter of time. Infestor tries its luck at a Neural, gets deleted by a feedback. As Infestors, let me double check here. their max energy? It's 200, and they only have 90 HP, so Infestors are one of the few units in the game that if they're at max energy and they get feedback, they will still die, as that is which is not good for Zerg, of course, but it's much better than it used to be, as units die from feedback a lot less. Back in the day, feedback would just like pretty much one-shot most spellcasters if they had any amount of energy, any reasonable amount anyway. SharkBot does eventually clean this up. Everything dies. What a slow but definitive win. Kind of playing with its food a little bit. Although, I mean, like, yeah, definitely wasn't perfect, losing probes over and over again to a random Hydra and Roach. How many kills does this Roach have? 36, 17 on the Hydra. So SharkBot definitely lost more probes than it needed, never building cannons here for some reason. It built a battery. This Archon's also slacking, as SharkBot is now chasing down an Overseer, not killing the final hatchery, as Caninana has got... It's literally just the one Roach and the one Hydra. The heroes of the game for the Zerg. Come on, SharkBot, you can do it. I believe. Disruptor kills the larva. Will it be a Disruptor that gets the final kill? It might actually be. There it is. GG.